JB Flies asks, I've set up my receiver and I've got this problem where I don't have any color in the receiver bars, okay? Here's what causes that. This is a very common problem. There's a very simple fix, okay? When you don't have color in your receiver bars, what you need to do is go into Betaflight Configurator. Hold on. And you need to go to the Firmware Update tab. We need to choose our target. We have to choose the correct target. For the sake of this demonstration, it doesn't matter what target we choose. And in Betaflight 4.4, 4.5, or maybe it was a configurator version. I'm not sure exactly when this... Go ahead, Plenty.
Yeah, 4.4 because the build started in 4.4, but the configurator used to let you flash 3 different protocols at once. So
right.
It was a configurator change caused by a firmware change. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Betaflight 4.4 and configurator 10.10, somewhere recently, they stopped letting you... So, back up. In Betaflight 4.4, they stopped including all of Betaflight on the flight controller because Betaflight, the code itself got too big and not all flight controllers could hold the code. And they realized, well, there's a lot of shit that flight controllers aren't using, so there's no reason to put it all in the code. Like, for example, lots of flight controllers aren't using servos at all. So what if we just left all the servo code out? Okay? And one of the things they said was lots of flight controllers, you're not using multiple different receiver protocols. You can only use one at any given time. So in this recent version, I think it was configurator 10.10 when they made this change, they only let you select one radio protocol at a time. So if I choose Crossfire, which is the default, and I flash my flight controller now only supports Crossfire. Let's plug into an actual flight controller. Okay. So if I go... What's that?
Sorry, I just don't want to confuse people more. CRSF.
CRSF is Crossfire, correct.
Well, it's not anymore because now it's ELRS too. I just want... People get so confused when you say Crossfire.
I mean, Express LRS uses the Crossfire protocol to talk to the flight controller. So it's the Crossfire wire protocol, which is used by both Crossfire and Express LRS, confusingly. Fair. So right now, if I change this serial receiver provider from Crossfire, hang on, I got to zoom out. If I change that from Crossfire to S-Bus, I'm going to switch to my S-Bus, my old S-Bus FreeSky receiver, and I save and reboot. What's going to happen? I go to the receiver tab. Do you see that my receiver bars are now empty? What that means is that my flight controller doesn't have S-Bus support flashed in. And what I need to do is I need to go to the firmware update, choose my target, whatever that is, and change this radio protocol from Crossfire to S-Bus and re-flash it. Now, before you do that, you should probably do a backup of your CLI dump. Because when you flash, you're going to lose your configuration, potentially. I'm not sure it's 100%, but potentially. After you flash, you reload your CLI dump, and then you can change to S-Bus, and it'll work. Okay? That's the fix. The same thing happens. This is a similar thing. I'm gonna actually flash this flight controller. So let's flash this with S-Bus. And also, some people go over here and they change their motor protocol for some reason. I don't know why. But they change their motor protocol to something else. Okay? So now let's load this firmware. And let's flash this firmware to the flight controller. This is just a demo flight controller. It doesn't matter if I wipe the config. Good live stream. We'll just watch this erase. Do. We'll watch this flash. So, how y'all been? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Verifying. Okay. So now it's flashed. And if I go to the receiver tab, now see colored bars, S-Bus. But if I change it to Crossfire, save and reboot, we get no color bars. So that's the fix. When you see no color bars, it means you have to reflash to support that receiver protocol. And there are people who say, well, why don't they just get rid of those options from the list? And the answer is it's non-trivial to know what options were and were not flashed in. And so the configurator doesn't do that most of the time. Here's the other thing. I changed the motor protocol. If we go to motors, I'm going to set that to D-Shot and save and reboot. Now I flashed this firmware without D-Shot support. Do you see? We get this error message. The Quad-X model needs 4 motor resources, but we have 0 usable outputs. When you see this error message, it means that you changed, hold on, you changed this. You changed the motor protocol to something other than D-Shot, and then you flashed. You'd never do that. Almost never. Because almost always D-Shot is the motor protocol that you want to use. But when it says you have 0 motor resources, you need to reflash with D-Shot as your selected motor protocol. Okay? So, that is, I'm going to reflash this flight controller back to the expected settings. So,